Hey, what's up guys? I have a new knife review for you. First of all, sorry about the little MIA action lately. I've just been really busy. I had unexpected house guests stay with me for about a week or so. So, a little behind on things, but playing some catch up now. Want to do a knife review. This is a knife I've been using for about, I want to say 3 weeks, on and off. The last 2 days used it heavily, specifically so I can do a review on it. Now this knife came from one of you guys, one of the viewers, and it was a company that I was not aware of, which is pretty cool because there's a lot of knife companies out there and I've used them all, but as time goes on, new ones pop up and I'm not exposed to them. And I think it's great to be able to try something that's new. And yes, this company, come to find out, is new. Volcan, it's kind of the brainchild of Matt Diskin. So far, I found the one downside with this knife right off the bat, it's a little bit hard to find. I'm not sure where the viewer who sent this to me got his, but I have like maybe 6 or 7 different websites, my go-to sites that I go to, different dealers for knives and gear and stuff like that. And Blade HQ is one of them, and that's the first place I went to check, and they do carry this knife. I believe it's out of stock, don't quote me on that. You can always contact them to see if they have plans on restocking it, but that is going to be a downside. Newer company, less availability because not a lot of dealers out there picked them up yet as a, as a dealer for them. So yes, but I have to say I did find it out there. If you do research and you look for it, they're available. So anyway, here's the box. Nice little kind of mountainous lake scene here. Printed on the box. Very cool, by the way. We don't have a review on it, but I love the logo there. The 2 huge old school coffin shaped Bowie knives. Very nice. I kind of wish they made one of those knives. They're really cool. But the one I'm holding today, the model that we're looking at, even though it's not on the box here, and that's another thing I had to look up to find out what the model was, and I found their website. And the model is the Coronado, which I believe is a volcano in Mexico. If you trust Wikipedia, which sometimes I do, not all the time. You should question some things in life, don't take everything as fact. But anyway, I have to mention this. It's such a silly little thing, but this little holographic, yes. That's holographic. It reminds me of the old, like I used to collect all kinds of sports cards, and I miss that. That was like, NFL cards, I used to collect basketball cards, hockey cards. What else? Baseball. I had them all. I even collected Pokemon cards for about 2 weeks. Yes, even Pokemon cards. I had Cheech and Chong playing cards, and I had all kinds of crap. But anyway, yeah, for some reason that totally reminded me of old playing cards. I thought that was pretty cool. That, and when you buy hats, brand new from the mall, they always have that, like, or any kind of official, like NFL gear, or baseball, MLB, whatever. They always have that stuff. It has nothing to do with this knife, but I have to point it out because it's on my mind, and that's just how I roll. So let's get into some important stuff. The knife, right? Who cares about the box? I don't know. I get these thoughts in my mind, and I have to share them with you guys. So anyway, yes, here is the knife. It's a spiffy little knife, and it's spring assisted, okay? You do have a little flipper on the back, and I'm going to break this down throughout the review and show you how the mechanics of this specific one works. But you see the flipper pointing out here, okay, as well as ambidextrous thumb studs. Now, I will tell you, I do prefer using the thumb studs to flip this out because this flipper is not incredibly comfortable. I find it to be, if you're playing with the knife like I do, under normal use, you pull it out of your pocket a couple times throughout the day, it's really not a big deal. But I just with playing with it for about 10 or 15 minutes, it actually made my finger a little bit sore. It's not the most ergonomic flipper. That's because it's pretty much dual purpose. This little piece of metal hanging out over there turns into a flipper, but its real purpose is a blade stop, okay, which is on that pin right there. So we'll talk about more of that in a minute. So let's talk about some specs. A lot of people like specs, specifications, specifics, what have you, because you know what? This looks kind of small in my hands. It may be big in your hands. We all have different hands, you know? You can't like borrow my hand so you can see how big it is when you get it home, you know? So sometimes you watch a video and you say, oh, that's awesome, and you get it and you go, wah, wah, that's just way too small. Really thought it was bigger. So that's why we talk about specifications. Okay, the blade here is 2.9 inches It's an AUS 8 stainless. Talked about that plenty of times. By the way, this one out of the box was very sharp. Very pleased with it out of the box. And I did get it new, so I was very happy with that. Sometimes hit and miss. It's not always a company's fault. Sometimes it's sporadic. But certain companies do tend to have sharper knives out of the box. One of them being Spyderco. They just, I mean, for the most part, they're grinding their edges at 30 degrees inclusive, which is literally thinner than the industry standard of 40 degrees inclusive or 30 degrees per seed. Yeah. What I'm talking about is, generally speaking, across the board, at least, maybe not these days so much because people experiment and times have changed, but for many, many decades, the common knife edge was V-ground, okay, symmetrical on both sides, and it was 20 degrees on this side, 20 degrees on that side. And, you know, these days there's all kinds of funky stuff going on. But my point is that it's sharp. It was sharp when it's brand new, so you don't have to worry about that. But as the mechanics of AUS 8, make sure you know how to sharpen your knives because eventually you will need to do so. It's not a super steel. It will get dull when you use it, like any metal, really. So anyway, overall length here is 6.4 inches. The handle material is a Zytel, and the overall weight is 2.1 ounces. All right. Now again, it's hard to find. It's not going to be easily found, but when you do find it, and I found at least 4 different sources, it's been anywhere from $25 to $35 brand new. Okay, so it is on the affordable side. And it is something different, which is nice. Right off the bat, what do I like about this knife? First of all, I think the ergos on this are pretty good. I like them. Specifically the overall ergonomics of the handle, but I will give a hit on the finishing, like on the edges of the scales. They could have been refined a little bit. I mean, again, price and like all the processes, all the steps it takes to make a knife, that will reflect price. So it's easy to take a cheaper knife and say, yeah, it would have been better to round that and do this. Well, that all adds to the cost of the knife. So sometimes it's not worth mentioning because, yeah, you can change this, you can change this, you can do a better steel. Then you don't have this knife. You don't have the same price point. So sometimes it's a waste of time, but I thought I'd mention it anyway. Yeah, the edges are a little bit rough, but overall the ergos are good. Kind of a shallow finger troll here. What I really like about this, my second point, is the look of it. I happen to be a huge fan of oversized, wide blades, okay, with slimmer handles. I think it's cool looking. It's a nasty looking, aggressive look, in my opinion. And going back to Blade HQ for a second, there's another knife that I'm going to be getting soon from them. Actually, I might do an unboxing because I have some goodies coming from them. There's another one in there that is very similar in that sense, and you'll see some more reviews with that stuff as well in the future. But yeah, I really like that. I think it's sexy looking, it's aggressive, it's cool. You know, we all use our knives, but you know, face it, you don't want to buy a knife that you personally think's ugly or dorky or stupid. And that may seem stupid in concept, but you know, we buy with our eyes most of the time, you know. Everyone's different. Some people buy strictly for looks because they're not going to use it much. Some people buy strictly for use. They don't care what it looks like. And there's people all in between. And I depending on what day of the week it is, I vary from that, to be honest. But you know what? You do buy with your eyes, and I think this one is appealing looking. I think it's a very sexy design. I love that oversized blade with a very thin, slim handle. So very cool. Now, onto the bad parts. Yes. The Zytel on this happens to feel really cheap. In fact, it's spring assisted and there's actually like a coil spring in there, which I'll show you in a second how that works. But when you tap this, it reminds me of like a screen door. You know when you hit something that has a spring on it and like you bang it and all of a sudden you feel the vibration of the spring like kind of rock out a little bit. Like if I flick this or bump into it, I don't know if you can hear this. You can't really hear it, but I can feel it. It's like, like I can feel it kind of vibrating, and it's such a cheap feeling to me. Plus, it's just super, super light, which sometimes to me equates to cheap. It doesn't necessarily mean it's cheap, but sometimes you get a heavier knife in your hand, and you're like, yeah, that's sturdy, that's a real good quality. Most people don't know anything about knives. They'll strictly base their opinion on that knife on how much it weighs. I know people like this. I've met these individuals, these crazy SOBs. Yes, you hand them a knife and they go, Oh, that's kind of light. That's kind of a cheap knife. Really? You hand them like a buck 110. They go, whoa. They barely can lift it up, and they go, yeah, that's a good knife, man. That's a strong knife. Well, no, obviously it doesn't really make a difference whether it's heavy or not. But a lot of people are into lighter knives. I can go either way. I don't really care that much, to be honest. I've carried 9-ounce folders in my pocket, and yeah, it's a little bit heavier, but unless you're literally running most of the day or being extremely active, I don't think it makes a big difference, but to each their own. I will say though, this feels cheaply light. 2.1 ounces on this. To me, it just overall it seems cheap. The plastic ease, I tell, but you know, not a huge deal for me. It's not a deal breaker. You can see the grooving on there, like CNC'd. Very cool. Doesn't really add anything for grip, to be honest. It's very smooth. It just looks good, but there's nothing wrong with that, right? But overall, the ergos are pretty good on this. Like I said, I don't have much problem. I did find, because the edges are a little bit on the sharp side, I got some hot spots, particularly down here. You can see these very distinct angles. Okay, nothing's really rounded, and because it's a little bit shorter, and you get about that 3.5 finger grip on this, these sharper corners here, they did give me quite a bit of a hot spot in the pinky there. And what I mean by hot spot, if you don't know, just basically like a soreness, turned a little bit red, a little bit raw. So when you're using this extensively or heavily, you will notice something like that. Again, I think the average person watching this video, they may take their knife out, cut 1 or 2 things, put it away. For you, that kind of person, just fine. Not a problem. Honestly, it's not going to be an issue for you whatsoever. So don't even consider that, whether you're thinking about buying it or not. That's not an issue for you. Let's see, what else? Pocket clip, very, very low profile clip, okay? Interesting design, basically a cutout in the scale. It goes across under the scale and then is screwed in through the top. By the way, hardware, sometimes my brain moves faster than my lips. That's why I make up words and sound funny. I sound funny. All the hardware is Torx bits. Now, at this point, if you're into knives, don't complain about not having a Torx driver, okay? It's $6 or $7 at Lowe's or Home Depot, or maybe pay another $1 or $2 at your mom and pop hardware store. It's worth the investment. There's going to be lots and lots of knives in your future with these types of screws, so invest in the proper tools. It's a small investment, and it will give you peace of mind. So, I mean, I do know plenty of people who complain about that. Oh my God, I need some kind of special alien tool to open my knife. It's pretty common. At this point, it really is. But anyway, yes, spring assisted. Not so comfortable with the flipper. Just a little bit on the jagged side. Little tiny nibber nubber. It's effective. It works. But if you're playing with it all day, like I am, when you have a knife in your hand, you just tend to open it and close it. It just gets a little bit uncomfy. So I would recommend using the thumb studs instead. And these thumb studs are very nice. By the way, it is a liner lock. Lockup is strong, very, very tight, surprisingly sturdy out of the box. I thought there'd be a little bit of wiggle in this, but even with use, it's held up really nice. Centering on this, again, I'm not big on checking centering. I can care less, unless it's literally scraping the side or dulling my edge. Doesn't matter to me, but for anyone who's interested, it's pretty close to perfectly centered. Slightly off to the side, but I mean, just teeny tiny bit. No issues with that whatsoever. What else? Love the blade profile on this one. There is a cutout on top here, but the swedge does not extend to the tip, okay? Leaving the extra metal on the tip does give you a little added strength for penetration. Plus, that's darn cool looking. Reminds me of a, I can't think of it. What's the thing that the scuba divers use? Spear gun, like under the water. Is there a specific name for that? I don't know why specific came out funny. I don't know. I'm thinking really hard right now. There's too much pressure. I know you guys are watching and I can't think of it. I get like that sometimes when I'm making a video. I want to say something, and like as soon as the camera goes off, of course it pops right in my head, but I don't want to spend a lot of time editing it in and cheesy blah blah blah. Yeah, it's a spear gun. I guess that's what it's called. Anyway. What else? Let's look at the how this actually works, this spring assisted, because it is a little bit different. All right, let me get a close-up shot here. Focus. Let's see. I'm gonna cut myself. Focus. All right, thank you. Now, you see on top here we have that little collar. Don't look at that. Look at the one on the inside there. That little pillar of joy. Yes, that one right there. You can see the channel on the inside of the liner. By the way, liners are not drilled or anything. It's still light enough. You don't need to. Basically, as you close the blade, that hooky thing on the, it's technical, the hooky thing, it captures that little pillar. I'll put my hand behind here so it focuses. You see in there, inside? It's the one right in the middle of your screen. Yes, that's the one, to the left. Alright, so, and there's a channel on top. Now, it's on both sides. You can't see because there's a shadow. But basically, there's springs connected to it. So, as you close the knife, it's pushing that up the channel. Okay, building pressure the whole way. And there's an angle change towards the end. It kind of kicks to the side, and that releases the pressure. So it doesn't want to spring open, it'll actually stay shut. Okay, now all the while, our little funky looking tail, so it reminds me of, did you ever see Shallow Hal? George Costanza, and no, I don't remember his real name. When he has the tail, that's what that little piece of steel reminds me of. I don't know why. But yes, that conveniently wraps around, and right there, that stops our blade from continuing into the frame. Just like our thumb studs are also the blade stop on the top when it's open. Okay, so yes, that's how that works right there. Builds up pressure, and then the angle change allows that pressure to release, or not release, but it holds it from wanting to spring open. Okay, and then all you need to do is, as you initiate that movement open, it goes back to that straight angle, and all that pressure is released, which moves the blade to a certain point, and just by having a little bit of spring pressure, it swings it open if, of course, your pivot is properly lubed and the knife is assembled right. That's how basically a spring action knife works. Unlike an automatic where you push a button to release it, you have to initiate it to release it. And this is where, like, a lot of automatic laws, you know, different states, your knife laws, that's really why the assisted knife was born. It's, look, we like knives that open fast, they're like automatic, but I can't have an automatic knife. So by law, an automatic knife in most states is a knife in which a button or mechanism is pushed in order to release a blade under spring tension, blah, blah, blah. The details are different in every state. However, there's no actual button or mechanism that opens this. You have to literally initiate opening the blade for it to catch. So there's no technical button or mechanism anywhere. Your finger is the mechanism, and we can't make our fingers illegal, can we? Who knows? Maybe that's next. We'll be nubby people. So overall, I like the knife. I think for its price tag of roughly 30 bucks, it is a good contender. I think it's a darn sexy looking knife. I know that. And it does work fine. It's just overall, I kind of get this little bit of a cheapy feel with that Zytel, but not a big deal, honestly. I wouldn't call it a beater knife because I wouldn't really want to beat any knife, but yes, if I have to put it into a category, this would be like, you know, maybe in addition to your real fancy expensive knife, so you don't get that one all gunked up and glued up. I have no problem ripping open packages and getting all funky glue all over this. It wouldn't make me cry or lose any sleep, but overall I think it's really cool. I'd like to see what they come up with in the future. So, Volcan knives, very interesting. We'll have to keep an eye on these guys, and like I said, see the innovation in the future. But right now, I'm digging it. It's pretty cool. I do like the logo. Very sterile blade, by the way. It's just logo in the middle here, by the way, as opposed to down by the tang, which is definitely different. I mean, you see it sometimes, but I just like it. It's kind of a clean look. And on the back, we have our blade steel and the fact that, yes, it's made in Taiwan. Don't complain. We can make the exact same knife here in the US, but you know what? Double that price tag. Some people are willing to do that. The majority are not. That defines their purchase, okay? So the people who always cry, oh, it's gotta be USA or I'm not gonna buy it, that's totally cool. And I get that. I really get that. However, sales will definitely go down when the prices go up. So take that in consideration. Anyway, that's all. Very cool knife. I like it. Hope you guys enjoyed the review. I will be posting some older videos later today. This will be the first one for today. Not sure when, probably afternoon. But yeah, I got some catch up to do, so bear with me. Same thing with messages. But I'm gonna start rocking them out again because I love this little thing called YouTube. It's pretty cool. So I think I'll stick around a little while. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.